Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Unitarian Church in Fall River, Massachusetts.
I welcome you in the spirit of love and of peace to the Unitarian Church in Fall River. As we, Richard, as we light our chalice, I share these thoughts. May the truth, may the light of truth illumine our minds. May the spark of love set our hearts on fire. May the flame of freedom and of worship burn brightly within us and beyond us, now and always. For an invocation to invoke the spirit of love and peace, I ask you to repeat after me a phrase at a time, these versicles of peace. Shalom, Havarim. Peace be with you. Pacem in terris. Peace to all the world. Om Shanti. Eternal peace. In 1,000 tongues. And in the silent language of the heart. Let peace be our prayer. And a song upon our lips. Shalom Pacem Om Shanti. Peace, peace, eternal peace. The peace that passes all understanding. Blessed be. This is our time for sharing announcements, etc. Is there anyone who wishes to do so?
Welcome, Dick. It's so nice to see you again. I'm glad that you're back. I hope you had a nice summer enjoying fall. We're looking forward to your message this morning. And I wanted to let everyone know that Richard is going to be our minister next Sunday. Would you like to tell anyone about your
It's called Stacks and Stones. And it's about an experience I had 40 years ago. Before piling up stones in the woods became a fad, I encountered stacks of stones in the woods and felt that I had some kind of message. And the sermon was about me trying to figure out what the message was.
So just a friendly reminder that it's still voting season, early voting, I guess, is start. I think they announced on the radio 22% of the Massachusetts voters have voted either early or by mail-in. So that's a really good turnout. And I was thinking to myself when that happened, I was saying, oh, so this is, the church was started in 1832, so our 200-year anniversary is going to be in 2032, which is a voting year. So I was looking at the history, and Andrew Jackson was a Democrat, voted into office in the year 1832. So that's interesting. The way the parties reconfigured themselves to be actually on the other side of the spectrum.
Let's sing a hymn together. Here we have gathered, 360. Step inside. May all who seek here find a kindly word. May all who speak here feel it and heard. Our hearts song. Days of our lifetime sages, all they can sing now together is our heart's own shadows, sorrows, and regret. But in the shadows, let us not forget. We who now gather know each other's pain. Kindness can heal us as we give, we gain. Sing now in friendship is our heart's own song. May we say now together our church covenant, number 471. Love is the doctrine of this church. The quest of truth is its sacrament, and service is its prayer. To dwell together in peace, to seek knowledge in freedom, to serve human need, to the end that all souls shall grow into harmony with the divine. Thus do we covenant with each other and with God. I share with you a reading from the Gospel of John from the New Testament. John 5, selected verses, the healing at Bethesda. After these things, there was a feast of the Jews, and Jesus went up to Jerusalem. Now there is in Jerusalem by the sheep gate a pool which is called in Hebrew Bethesda, having 5 porticos. And in these lay a multitude of those who were sick, blind, lame, and withered, waiting for the moving of the waters. For an angel of the Lord at that time would go down at certain seasons into the pool and stir up the water. And whoever then first, after the stirring up, stepped in was made well from whatever disease with which he or she was afflicted. A man was there who had been ill for 38 years. And when Jesus saw him lying there and knew that he had already been a long time in that condition, he said to him, "Do you wish to get well?" And the sick man answered him, "Sir, I have no man to put me in the pool when the water is stirred up, but while I am coming, another steps down before me." And Jesus said to him, "Get up, pick up your pallet, and walk." And immediately the man became well, picked up his pallet, and began to walk. Here endeth the reading. It's time for share of joys and concerns of the congregation.
I've talked before about my nephew, Mr. Chronicles. Well, he seems to be dying of cancer. He's 56. He was out there. Susan and I, Susan, my wife and I, went to try to help him get his affairs at work. So we would be driving. He ran to Connecticut several times, over the next few months. But, it's something, it has to be done. No one can do it except us, so we'll be doing it. So, that's it. So, I'll be more frazzled than usual.
Other joys or concerns? Responsive reading number 468. I have the right number. 460. I got 668. Okay, we need one another. Number 468. I need help. All right, we need one another when we mourn and would be comforted. We need one another when we are in despair, in temptation, and need to be recalled to our best selves again. We need one another in the hour of success, when we look for someone to share our triumphs. We need one another when we come to die and would have gentle hands prepare us for the journey. I invite you to join me in a spirit of meditation and prayer. These thoughts and the prayer were inspired by the well-known verses of the 23rd Psalm. Unknown, unfathomable, unnameable spirit of creation. Whatever you are, and however we name you or do not name you, we are the children of life's longing for itself. The great mystery of being from whence we have come and to which we belong, now and forever. Be with us in our prayers and in the dark valleys of our griefs and our fears. Be with us in places of beauty where green things grow and clear water refreshes the body and the soul. Be with us in times of trouble and in times of comfort and joy, when our cup of life overflows. Be with us in the breaking of bread and in our sharing of the bounty of the earth with one another. Be with us in the face of the enemy, the stranger, the friend, who are all our brothers and sisters, though we know them not. Be with us in acts of goodness and mercy as we seek to live love and practice compassion in all that we do or say. Be with us even when we fall short of the best that is in us and fail to practice the creed that we would live by. Be with us even when we can't believe in you or find any meaning to our existence. Especially then, be with us. Be with us as we enter this world, received by the loving embrace of those who have parented us, and be with us as we depart this world and enter once again the mystery of being, from whence we have come and to which we belong, now and forever. Blessed be, amen. Life is the greatest gift of all. Hymn number 331. So treasure and measure it with deeds of shining. Mine is the brightest gift of all, its thought no barrier marks. It seeks creation's hidden plan, its quest among troubles. It rains the wind, it changes the storm, it brings our outmost stars. We are alive, its shining gift, the measure of all things. From the dust our temples lift, our vision soars on wings. For seed and root, for flower and fruit, our grateful spirit sings. As some of you know, I am a retired minister from the First Parish Church in Norwell. And before I retired, I was asked to be the minister emeritus, which indeed was an honor. And I can remember times in the little town of Norwell when election season came around that people paid attention to one another at town gatherings and church gatherings, took their citizenship seriously. But there was one member, both an elder and a junior, Scott Babcock. Some of you may have known Scott, who once election season came around, said, vote early and often. Vote early and often. You get a big chuck out of that one, of course. That was then. A lot has happened. The electoral institutions of towns and villages and cities and the nation as a whole. And my dear partner and I have taken Scott's advice to heart, and we voted early. We don't think we're going to do it often, though. But millions of Americans have done so. They voted early or late. We have an election. And there's strong feelings on one side or the other. Vote early and often, but who's counting? Who's counting? That's the big question of the day and the challenge between the two parties and others. Who's counting? Some of you may remember Jesse the Body Ventura, who was a former wrestler. And he served as the governor of Minnesota as an independent, and was during that time interviewed by Playboy magazine, and was quoted to have said that organized religion is a sham and a crutch for weak-minded people who need strength in numbers. Adding a footnote, not from him, but from a late colleague of mine, Frank Anderson. I like this. It goes along with the theme. He wasn't much on religion, he said. Seemed like a crutch to him instead. He'd stand on his own, go it alone, because the whole thing is all in the head. So he drank of beauty but couldn't share it, and seized on truth but couldn't swear it, craved for love but couldn't spare it. All in his head, he couldn't bear it. And only then, when his heart cried out, did he find what religion was all about. I love that quote from Frank Anderson. Number of years ago, Republicans and Democrats had an election, and Mitt Romney was running for the Democrats at the time, and at the time, Romney tried to blame his failure to win the presidency on things like giveaways to college young people receiving government loans and scholarships, or elderly folks receiving Obamacare, or Latino immigrants receiving an easy path to citizenship. That one's come around again in a different way. Those, in other words, who were part of those who were getting too addicted to government and might vote in greater numbers, or did vote for others of his opponent. The question is religion, and by inference government, becoming too much of a crutch for people who should learn to stand on their own 2 feet and not become overly dependent on organized religion or organized government? Is religion a crutch? And if so, is that necessarily bad? What about Unitarian Universalism? Are we sometimes guilty of overemphasizing individualism and freedom of belief so much that it ends up as freedom from any belief and no commitment whatsoever to organized religion? I can remember once calling on an older man in my very first parish in Middleborough. And he told me that the reason he never came to church anymore was because Unitarianism had taught him to be so independent that he no longer needed religion anymore. He had become a church unto himself. An interesting notion. I thought at the time, still do. Anyway, a few months later, he died. And the family called upon me, the representative of the institution of the liberal church in Middleborough, that he had presumably outgrown, to perform the funeral. They would never have understood if I had suggested to him, though I thought it, that he'd do it himself. But the thought crossed my mind. The poet W.H. Auden once noted when he went to Spain during the Civil War in the 1930s that he was stunned and dismayed to see so many churches in that land standing closed. He then realized that though he had himself ignored the ministrations of the church for the past 16 years or so, he nonetheless subconsciously expected it to keep functioning anyway. There's a lesson here for church canvass committees to consider when they have to canvass people who are reluctant to support the church. And the message they need to get across is this: if you expect the church to be there when you need it, you have to give it your support even when you think you don't need it. Otherwise, you may end up having to do your own funeral. Or as I said to my former interim congregation in Bridgewater, not that long ago, when they were trying to raise funds for an elevator lift from the lower level to the sanctuary. Anyway, my comment was, let's not forget that we all need a lift from time to time. Yeah. Anyway, my former parishioner in Middleborough had talked himself into believing that he had outgrown religion. That but he and his family wanted and expected the church to be there and to respond to their need when faced with the extremity of death. Can you have it both ways? A radical individualism which eschews religious association, and then in an extremity calls upon the institution of the church, which is based, at least in part, upon the recognition of the need for human community. Unitarian Universalism has sometimes already tried to have it both ways. On the one hand, we trumpet the self-reliance taught by Emerson, our preeminent Unitarian philosopher. And then on the other hand, we want our members to support the institution of the liberal church that Henry Bellows, Emerson's contemporary, said was so essential for spiritual formation. If we were all to become radical individualists, there would be no liberal church to serve our needs in times of extremity or joyous celebration. In the end, individualism should yield or be balanced by communitarianism. Communitarianism. Our vaunted individualism makes no sense apart from our connections to community, both religious and secular. Now, 19th century German theologian Friedrich Schleiermacher, I remember being introduced to his thought when I was a theological student at Andover Newton. Schleiermacher, I love that. It rolled off the tongue. Anyway, he wants to find religion as a feeling of absolute dependence. And by this he meant the fundamental recognition of the derivative character of human existence and the realization of the finite, limited nature of that existence. We did not create ourselves. We are all of us derived from a power, a reality, and an evolutionary process that precedes our coming into being and transcends our going out of being. The realization of this existential fact of our human condition is what Schleiermacher meant by a feeling of absolute dependence. And he claimed that religion, its rites and its rituals, its ceremonies and its celebrations grew out of this feeling of dependence upon powers and sources of being beyond ourselves. A calls it a power greater than yourself. So when people like Jesse Ventura or Mitt Romney way back then say that religion or government is a crutch, and they certainly don't need a crutch, they're acknowledging that human beings are dependent upon powers and persons beyond themselves for their very survival, but denying that this applies to themselves, at least at this point in their lives. That's kind of like some right-wing enthusiast declaiming, "Keep your dirty government hands off my Medicare." There actually were some who said that. An oxymoron and contradiction in terms if ever there was one. Of course, it's true, there are those who use religion or politics to foster an unhealthy and unrealistic dependence upon what may seem to us illusory or inadequate facts or realities. But this does not change the fact that we, in fact, do derive our existence from sources and persons beyond ourselves, whether we know it or acknowledge it or not. We shall be forever building our human self so long as we draw the breath of life. In isolation from nature and others, we are next to nothing. In relation to those same realities, we become fully human. We all begin life as helpless infants, Schleiermacher's absolute dependence, and move ever so slowly towards the independence of adulthood. But the independence of adulthood is not one of absolute independence, but the mature recognition of our human interdependence. We need one another, as we said in the responsive reading, to become whole and loving and free. A healthy psychology and a healthy religion, and I would add a healthy politics, affirms and celebrates the reality of our human interdependence. The paralytic in the Gospel of John at the pool in Bethesda had been waiting for 38 years for someone to help him into the healing waters, to no avail. Someone always got in ahead of him, leaving him in the lurch. Jesus clearly recognized that the man needed help, but that he also needed to take some initiative to start the healing process. And he gave him just, you might say, the right amount of first century Medicare to get him moving. And when he did so, the man discovered, hey, maybe I can begin to learn to walk again. And so it is for most of us in this weary, worn world of ours. Few of us have pulled ourselves up by our own bootstraps. We have all had various sources of help and guidance and encouragement all along the way. And boy, I think we're all grateful that we had it when we did. For we know we would be less than we are today had it not been there when we needed it. As it says in one of the doxologies in our hymnals, from you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. From you I receive, to you I give. Together we share, and from this we live. In other words, all of us have needed a crutch at some time or other to get over the difficult, rough spots on the road of life. Sometimes it's a minister, sometimes a relative or a friend, sometimes even a stranger is the source of aid. And yes, sometimes helpful government social security. Medicare or disability program with a supplemental check to help us get through the month and enable us to mend our bodies as well as our souls. Sometimes it's overtly religious or political, and sometimes covertly so. I know in terms of my own psychological and spiritual development, it was overtly evident. When my parents divorced when I was 14 years old, it created an emotional gap in my life, which the church, a Watchung Congregational Church at the time, helped to fill. I became active in a local youth group near my home, becoming president of the group in my senior year of high school, and I made new friends and grew in my sense of self-worth, befriended the minister who was advisor to the group, and received from all these associations inspiration to consider the ministry as my life vocation, future life vocation. And I've always been grateful that church played a vital helping role at a critical time in my life. The core dimension of myself wanted to return a portion of what I had received, and so I went into the ministry. If this amounts to using religion as a crutch, hey, I make no apologies. I'm just glad it wasn't a rubber crutch. It helped me to stand on my own 2 feet, finally. It seems like I hobbled along for a long time, and I still have my days when, heck, I'm over it in my 80s, my arthritis flares up again, and that's the best I can do sometimes. How about you? The negative connotation attached to the charge that religion is a crutch goes back to Freud, who wrote a little book in 1927 entitled The Future of an Illusion. Freud argued that the belief in an almighty personal Father God who created the world and authored the moral codes of culture was based on the dependency of the child's self on parental figures and projected onto the cosmic screen of existence. Religion, he contended, was grounded in an illusion that we must eventually let go of in a mature, rational, scientific understanding of the world. What Freud never seemed to allow was that it just might be possible for religion itself to evolve beyond the primitive stage of childhood dependence and illusions. Freud, you might say, used a model of neurotic and immature religion. And he assumed there could be no other truthful model. Freud was indeed truthful, speaking of himself, when he said that he who goes no further, who humbly acquiesces in the insignificant part human beings play in the universe, is irreligious in the truest sense of the word. To go no further is indeed irreligious, for it fails to pay heed to the human need to celebrate life and all of its pain and glory, to sing, dance, to enact the drama of human being becoming, to acknowledge the mystery beyond and within all our scientific knowledge and insight, to inspire and be inspired, to express gratitude for being, to offer models of hope and courage and endurance in the face of disappointment, fear and moral turpitude, etc., etc. All of these are religious and spiritual needs in the truest sense of the word. They're needs that humanity will never totally outgrow and still be human. I like what Marion O'Donnell, one of my former parishioners in Norwell and Brockton, maybe some of you knew Marion, what she said in a thoughtful sermon some years ago. And she likened Unitarian Universalism to a religion with a shovel rather than a crutch. A shovel to clear a pathway through the densities of life. The shovel of our religion, she said, is not an idle one, but truly useful. Yet in times of crises, when our way in life gets rough and we need support, our shovels can be very sustaining. And so she concluded, of course, you can lean on your shovel. You can lean on your shovel. I love that. So to those who say religion is a crutch, we can answer, well, maybe it is. That's not always so bad. But in our religion, we try to exchange the crutch for a shovel. Now, if you're too selfish and lazy, that's one thing, but don't blame us for not coming to church. If you don't want a crutch, we'll give you a shovel. Better yet, bring your own. If you're as strong and independent as you might make yourself out to be, then others need your help. And you can be sure you will have your day as well. And when you do, of course you can lean on your shovel. Marion quotes one of my favorite UU writers, Robert Weston. We look upon our tasks, said Bob, as opportunities to serve, and upon our failures as keys to fresh knowledge. This is religion, not that we never fail, but that we try greatly. Not that we make no mistakes, but that we face the future with undiminished courage and good cheer. Not that we are free from wrong, but that we have faith to do better. And so, in conclusion, I ask you, can we affirm, can what we affirm to be so for the kind of organized church and religion we would wish to build be any less so for the kind of political structures and programs we would want to be in place for the nation state we each hold so dear in our hearts? Church and state need one another in different ways. And the obvious, and let's close with this thoughtful prayer. O thou who art the source of our deepest and truest selves, we need the encouragement and support of one another's caring along the way, to share the grief, to enhance the joy, to offer strong hands and a chorus of voices, to uplift the heart and hope and in song in the great mystery of our days and nights upon the earth. From you I receive, to you I give, together we share, and from this we live. I lost my order of service. Okay. Time for our offertory. The offering for the work of this congregation will now be received. Closing hymn number 108, My Life Flows On in Endless Song. Stand as we are able. Life flows on in endless song of lovers and temptation. I hear the rain, no far off wind, that hails a new creation. And friends rejoice keep from singing to persons small and undefiled. Our thoughts to them are winging when friends by shame are undefiled. How can I keep from singing? And now let us bless one another and keep one another. Let us make our faces shine upon one another. Let us lift up the light of our countenances upon one another. And in the great adventure of living, give each other peace and joy and love, both now and forevermore. Amen. Blessed be.